In this video, we're going to look at the Cartesian coordinate system, and when we do that, we're really expressing all solutions to equations in two variables graphically. Eventually, we will focus on linear equations and lines, but that comes later in 3.2. And so we just want to review the Cartesian coordinate system, look at solutions graphically, and then remind ourselves about the distance between 2 points and the midpoint and what we mean by that. So we're going to focus on the first learning step in this video. So just as a opening exercise, I want you to look at this and see what you can do with it. Okay, so Jody travels from home a certain distance, and so it's likely that when you started this problem, you maybe said, okay, well, here is home, and then from home, Jody heads, 3 miles east, and then turns north and heads up 12 miles. So you likely drew a diagram like this, and then you said, okay, well, the distance that we're looking at is this distance, right? So when you're doing this, you can actually think of it as, well, if you put home at the intersection, you're going 3 units east, and then 12 units or 12 units up, 12 units north. So let's see, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12. So you're going 3, 12, and then you might think of this, at least from your previous experience, and identify it as like 3, 12. Now, you can look at that representation, and that is perfectly fine. And when you're doing that, you're actually using the Cartesian coordinate system. And so what we're actually doing is taking two number lines, right? One is going left and right, the other one's going from bottom to top on the screen, and we intersect them at their zeros. So this point right here would be 0 for the first number line and 0 for the second number line, and doing that creates the Cartesian coordinate system, and we call those the two number lines really axes, or if we're looking at one of those number lines, we call it an axis. Okay, and then so just as a reminder, when we have something like this, first of all, extremely important to label your axes, both with arrows at the ends, right? So I have arrows on all the ends of mine here. Well, I put them there. And then also you would want to label each axis with the positive direction, something like this. So like this is positive, so you know that that direction is positive. And then eventually we will also include a variable. And usually by default, if we just have like x and y, we assume that positive is there. But nevertheless, you need the labels. And when we create this, remember that this divides a plane, or like a sheet of paper, into 4 distinct sections. And we call those quadrants. And so you might remember that this region is called quadrant 1, and then this is quadrant 2. I'm not going to write it out. And then 3, we are going counterclockwise, and 4 is to the lower right. Okay, mathematicians define counterclockwise to be positive. Okay, so just remember the quadrants and their names, and then we're just going to focus on plotting some points here. So remember that if we have an ordered pair AB, that means we go horizontally first in A units and then B units vertically. Okay, so for example, when we're plotting the point 4, 3, we would go to the right 4 units on the first number line. Again, we're saying that this is like our x and our y, at least in this case. So we're going 4 units to the right and then 3 units up, and at the intersection of those, we place a point. And I also like to include labels just in case, your drawing isn't too accurate. And sometimes, I'm the world's best artist, but sometimes I'm not. Okay, depending on the day. All right, and then 1, -1, 5. So -1 would, instead of going to the right, we go to the left, and then we go still up 5 units. Okay, and so I would label that point -1, 5. And for the other ones, I want you to plot those and resume the video when you're ready. And so I have plotted the points, and here they are. All right, and we're going to conclude this with a quiz in a moment here. The only thing that I want to mention is that this point 0, 0, we call it the origin. Okay, and when you get into higher level mathematics, we and multiple more dimensions other than 2, we call it the zero vector. So just a bit of trivia. Anyway, quiz question is going to appear here on your screen shortly.